The Partenio mountain range is a mass of lime rich with gorges, grottos, karst uplands and springs. Its soil is particularly fertile thanks to the pyroclastic deposits left by eruptions from Vesuvius. Located in the heart of the Campania region, occupying the center of gravity between the provinces of Avellino, Benevento, Caserta and Naples, it extends scythe-like for about 40 kilometers along a southwest axis. It may be divided into three parts: a northern wooded slope looking over the Caudine Valley along the age-old Appian Way, an arid rocky southern slope towering over the plain of Nola and Naples, and a slope oriented to the southeast, dominating over the city of Avellino and embracing the tall peaks of Montevergine and Sumonte. Established in 2002, Parco Regionale del Partenio, a regional park covering about 16,000 hectares, has placed the most important and evocative areas of the southern Apennine Ridge under permanent protection, including a regional forest reserve, a WWF oasis, and two sites of community interest singled out by the BioItaly project for their unique natural assets: the Campo Maggiore and Sumonte Highlands, and the Partenio Mountains Ridge. A variety of soils and rich waters have made Partenio an exceptional location for flowers, with more than 1,100 species, many of which endemic. From the mountain slopes, which are prevalently planted with vineyards and olive and hazelnut trees, chestnut woods extend up to 900 meters. Above, up to the peaks, beech stands dominate, with the occasional yew, maple, Italian alder and hornbeam, while cliffs with southern exposure boast expanses of downy oak and holm oak, turkey oak, elm, medicinal herbs, and other species of the Mediterranean Macis shrubland, like broom, bramble, mastic, and Rosa canina. The underbrush is home to holly and asparagus, violets and cyclamen, wild strawberries and raspberries, truffle and mushrooms. Above 1,200 meters, the Lilium martagon, the oasis's symbol, and the alpine rose flourish. And despite growing urbanization, animal life is also very varied. Among the 11 species of amphibians present, special mention must be made of the spectacled salamander, the fire salamander, the Italian newt, and the great crested newt. Reptiles include the Aesculapian snake, the four-lined snake, the green whip snake, and the extremely rare European pond terrapin. The woods are home to Eurasian woodcock, wood pigeon, green and red woodpecker, Eurasian jay, common cuckoo, common raven, and coal tit, and there have been sightings of the rare Eurasian eagle owl. In the meadows and on the hillsides, one may catch a glimpse of quail, skylark, searle bunting and serin. On the peaks, birds of prey may be sighted, such as buzzard, Eurasian sparrowhawk, common kestrel, goshawk, and the threatened peregrine falcon. Mammals are present in force. The 33 verified species include pine marten, fox, beech, marten, weasel, badger, and boar, and there are many signs that the Italian wolf is making a return. 8 species of bats make their homes in rocky habitats, such as Grotta di Mattiuccio in the Panaro oasis, Grotta degli Sportiglioni in Avella, and some karst cavities in the municipality of Baiano, which has recently been object of study and cave exploration. Partenio, whose name derives from the Greek word meaning place where the sun is born, was already populated in prehistory and has borne witness to the succession of dominant powers that contributed towards creating a culture with deep roots. The first colonizers were the Osci around 1000 BC, followed after the 6th century BC by invasions of Samnites, Romans, and barbarians. From 568 AD on, much of southern Italy fell under Lombard rule, thus ushering in a period of exceptional cultural, political, and commercial splendor that came to an end in about the 9th century, with invasions by the Saracens and the Magyars. In 1077, the last Lombard duke submitted to the church, giving rise to the long papal rule. But part of the territory came under the rule of the Normans, who in 1130 brought about a kingdom united, thanks to its respect and tolerance for cultural, ethnic, and religious diversity. Beginning in the 13th century, there was a succession of disputes between the Angevins and Aragonese, between the Spanish and the French, and the territory was governed by illustrious families from Italy's Campania region, such as the Carafa, Caracciolo, della Leonessa, and Orsini. The Angevin period saw a fundamental event in Partenio's history, the foundation of the monastic order by William of Vercelli in 1120, and the building of the church dedicated to the Virgin, soon enlarged to a monastery. Through the donation of fiefs, lands and vassals, the Montevergine monastery became important enough to condition Partenio's history, with its religious and political influence. Starting in the 16th century, Partenio, with its rich forests and impenetrable areas, became the scene of one of the most renowned phenomena in southern Italian history, brigandage. In 1820, Carbonari unrest spread throughout southern Italy, forcing the Bourbon king Ferdinand I to grant a constitution. Italian unification was achieved in 1860. The itinerary that follows takes us on a sort of counterclockwise tour around the Partenio mountain, crossing through the park's 22 municipalities to discover a territory rich in history, architecture, traditions, and nature. Starting from the Piazza Insumonte with its magnificent age-old tilia tree, where the new park authority offices are located, we pass through the characteristic mountain village, dominated by the imposing Angevin tower, the Torre Angevina, now restored, built upon the ruins of the Norman Swabian castle. From atop its 16 meters, the surrounding territory could be surveyed. Now it provides a splendid panorama. In the village's heart is the Baroque Chiesa dell'Annunziata church, which conserves a main altar in polychrome marble and the remains of St. Columba, a figure quite dear to the community. As we descend the foothill road linking Avellino with the Caudine Valley, we reach Sant'Angelo a Scala. The town's name reflects the cult of St. Michael the Archangel, spread by the Lombards to all the lands under their rule. In about 1000 it was given a fort, now called the Castello, to defend the territory from the continuous barbarian raids. The period of peak splendor was achieved under the Carafa family, when Naples' greatest stonecutters and Maiolica craftsmen worked here to adorn the Incoronata sanctuary. The 14th century San Giacomo Abbey, which dominates the village centre, conserves the remains of Pope San Sylvester and important artworks from the Incoronata monastery, destroyed by the French in 1806 for having given refuge to Fra Diavolo. A few kilometres further and we cross through Pietra Stornina, distinguished by its dramatic rocky spire, on whose peaks the remains of a medieval fortress may be seen. Abandoned after the 1980 earthquake, the characteristic old centre that developed around the high spire is now being recovered. Facing the main road traversing the town are the Mother Church, adorned with precious furnishings from the now suppressed Incoronata monastery, and the Church of Santa Maria delle Grazie, built by Montevergine's Benedictine monks upon a 13th century crypt, enriched with small votive altars and frescoed niches that came to light during the current restoration. As we continue on our itinerary, we enter the Samnite territory of Panarano. In the 14th century it has a castle, later transformed into a noble residence. The remains of its ancient surrounding wall and a corner turret may still be seen. The town centre is dominated by a splendid bell tower, thought to be the work of Vanvitelli or his school. It is without a dome, which collapsed in the 1930 earthquake. Continuing towards the mountain in the town of Acqua delle Vene, we come to the WWF Montagna di Sopra oasis. With its enormous beach stand, it extends about 1,600 meters up the Monte d'Avella mountains, where a vast landscape all the way to the sea may be enjoyed. With its perennial water source and its brand new visitors center, the oasis is the ideal destination for all hikers and nature lovers. From here, numerous paths lead into the thick beech forest or to the Campo Maggiore plain and the Montevergine sanctuary. Returning towards the Caudine Valley, we re-enter Irpinia at San Martino Valle Caudina. Recently restored by its current owner, Duke Giovanni Pignatelli della Leonessa, The Lombard castle preserves a crenellated wall with guard turrets, a large internal court, and a magnificent frescoed salon. Belonging to the same owners is the 17th century Palazzo Ducale, its salons elegantly furnished with period pieces and ancient artworks. Cervinara was also fortified by the Lombards. Of its castle, an imposing square-shaped bastion and some truncated pyramid turrets remain. Among the many churches particularly worthy of note are the Chiesa del Carmine, renovated after the 1980 earthquake, whose apse preserves splendid Baroque-style frescoes, and the San Gennaro Abbey, remodeled in Romanesque style in the 18th century. As we descend the large stairway, we come to Piazza Regina Elena, dominated by Palazzo Marchesale. Expanded and modernized by the Marquess Caracciolo, it preserves some 18th century paintings and stucco work and a majestic salon. Nearby Rotondi boasts the 14th century church of Sant'Antonio Abate and the Madonna della Stella sanctuary. Built in 1534 on an imposing masonry buttress, it was the first settlement of the Capuchin Fathers. It is home to the polychrome wooden statue of the Madonna della Stella in Byzantine style. With Paolisi, we return to the Samnite territory. Rising from the desire of 17th century nobles to create residential centers in serene places with a salubrious climate, it is rich with fine palaces such as Palazzo Bifani and Palazzo Tirone. Upon reaching the Appia Way State Road, we enter Arpaia. Its strategic position along the ancient consular road made it an important Lombard outpost, and it was the scene of the Romans' humiliating defeat to the Samnites in 321 BC at the Caudine Forks. The remains of the ancient fort may still be seen on the slopes of Monte Castello, also the location of San Fortunato Abbey, with its Lombard and Norman architectural features, the convent of Sant'Agostino, or of the Lesser Friars, and the parochial church of San Michele Arcangelo. Behind Arpaia rises Forchia, the place where, according to other scholars, the famed Battle of the Caudine Forks took place. The town centre is home to the 17th century church of San Nicola di Mira, with its high bell tower and typical onion-shaped dome, and the remains of Samnite cisterns. Continuing along the Appian Way, we enter the territory of Caserta, with the municipalities of Arienzo and San Felice a Cancello, whose origins are linked to the ancient Oscan city of Suessula. After the Saracen invasions, Suessula's inhabitants took refuge first on Monte Sant'Angelo, around the Lombard church of San Michele Arcangelo, and later on the nearby Monte Argentarium, now called Monte Castello, where they built a fortified settlement. In 1154, the population descended to the valley, building Terra Murata, the most ancient nucleus of Arienzo. Facing the main piazza are the church of Sant'Agostino, where remains of 14th century frescoes have been discovered, and the tomb of Giovanella Stendardo, in Renaissance and Baroque style. The adjacent monastery, used in the past as a prison and gendarmerie, is currently home to the municipal offices. The lushly Baroque church awaiting restoration. Behind it is the magnificent Chiesa dell'Annunziata. Behind Terra Murata is the Cathedral of Sant'Andrea Apostolo, which houses prized 16th and 17th century artworks, as well as numerous frescoes and paintings, an artistic wooden choir, and the relics of Saints Clement and Costanza. After 1200, Arienzo expanded beyond the confines of the Terra Murata, giving rise to numerous hamlets, such as those to follow. The town is rich with churches worth visiting: San Felice Martire, San Giovanni Evangelista, and ascending towards Talanico, the churches of Santo Stefano, San Pietro Apostolo, and the Sant'Angelo a Palombara sanctuary, atop Monte Sant'Angelo, boasting prized frescoes and a breathtaking view. As we return down to the valley towards the western end of Partenio, we may admire the Lombard castle built on the Cancello Hill to take advantage of its strategic position overlooking the territory, dominating the Caudine Valley and the Nola countryside. Here begins Partenio's southern slope to Avellino. As we arrive in Roccarainola, the park's only municipality located in Neapolitan territory, we should make a detour to the regional state forest. Extending for about 900 hectares, it's a precious natural asset. The main points of architectural and historical interest are concentrated in the town's centre, the prehistoric grotto, and the ruins of the Norman castle, towering over the inhabited centre below. The crumbling Palazzo Baronale and the Church of San Giovanni Battista with its imposing bell tower and two side chapels. Continuing along the road rising towards the 16th century Church of Santa Lucia, we re-enter Irpinia, reaching Avella, perhaps Partenio's most ancient and history-filled town. Built in the 7th century during Lombard rule, the impressive castle was later rebuilt by the Normans, Swabians, Angevins and Aragonese. With its 3 masonry walls and high cylindrical tower, it provides an overview of Campania's military construction techniques. Well preserved are some Roman tombs, full-blown mausoleums and the amphitheatre, built between the 1st and 2nd centuries AD as a sort of mini Colosseum. Standing out in the town centre are the majestic Baroque Church of San Giovanni Battista, with its imposing bell tower, the ancient Church of San Pietro Apostolo, built in Amalfi's Romanesque style, and the 16th century Palazzo Ducale, with its garden inspired by Vanvitelli. As we leave Avella, we cross seamlessly through the municipalities of Sperone, Baiano, Sirignano, Quadrelle and Mugnano del Cardinale, whose first settlements date back to Roman times, connected with the expansion of the ancient city of Abella, when many Roman patricians moved to these pleasant locations, building villas and forts. Sperone is home to the Church of Sant'Elia, built in the 16th century near the ancient chapel dedicated to the prophet and saint Elijah. Along the lanes in the historic centre of Baiano, we come upon the churches of Santa Croce and Santa Stefano. But the place dearest to the people of Baiano is without a doubt the Eremo di Gesù e Maria, the retreat of Jesus and Mary built in the 16th century atop the hill by the same name. Dominating Baiano, it still shows a part of its original structure, the bell tower and the annexed convent. Facing the small piazza in the historic centre of Sirignano are the Church of Sant'Andrea and Palazzo Caravita, built in the 19th century on the ruins of the ancient feudal castle of the Caracciolo family, distinguished by its 3 crenellated towers and a lush park with majestic, age-old trees. Important sites in Quadrelle include the Baroque Church of the Santissima Annunziata, which preserves 16th century frescoes, wooden sculptures and 18th century paintings, and the Acquacerta Bridge, one of the rare examples of naturalistic engineering constructed by a skilled local builder in the late 19th century. Returning to the main road along the section that crosses Mugnano del Cardinale, we come across a number of sites: the late Baroque Carmine Church, Palazzo del Cardinale, which John of Aragon had built as official residence for the Commendatory Cardinal of Montevergine, and the Santa Filomena Sanctuary, built in 1641 to house the relics of the martyr who lived during the reign of Diocletian. A pilgrimage destination, it appears majestic and sober on the exterior, with a facade framed by twin towers, while its interior is rich and lavish with stucco work, marble, statues and paintings. Continuing on towards Avellino past the monumental fountain of the Bourbon King Charles III, we reach Monteforte Irpino, near the San Martino Hill. Perched here at the town's highest point are the Lombard Castle, whose remains may be seen in part of its perimeter walls and a circular tower, and the Church of San Martino, rebuilt in the 15th century on the remains of a 13th century chapel. Down in the historical centre, in the Church of San Nicola di Bari, conserve some 18th century canvases from the Neapolitan school and the school of Francesco Solimena. As we arrive in Mercoliano, whose history is inextricably linked with the Montevergine Sanctuary, we come upon the great Abbey Palace of Loreto, the winter residence of the Montevergine monastic community. Rebuilt by Vaccaro after the 1732 earthquake, it conserves the large reception salon, adorned with 16th century Flemish school tapestries, the pharmacy with its collection of Maiolica vases, the chapel with its altar from 1750, the archive, and the library. As we ascend towards the town, we come across the Church of San Modestino. Restored a number of times and supplemented in 1957 with the construction of the presbytery and the bridge bell tower, it has a single nave with 4 side chapels. Continuing from here along the charming tree-lined avenue, we can reach the Montevergine Sanctuary using the modern funicular, Europe's longest, steepest and fastest. The sanctuary consists of 2 buildings. The ancient basilica, rebuilt in the 17th century, is conserved basically intact, having lost only a portion of its left-hand nave. Its riches include an 18th century mosaic baldachin with 2 orders of columns, the tabernacle, the liturgical organ, and the precious main altar in Florentine mosaic with inlay in mother-of-pearl, agate and lapis lazuli. Built in modernized Romanesque style, the new basilica stands out for its monumental throne with its beautiful altarpiece depicting Mamma Schiavona, one of Italy's loveliest images of the Madonna. As we return to the valley, we may enjoy evocative glimpses of landscape, such as the view of the historic center of Mercogliano, called Capo Castello, rising on a small hill dominated by its Lombard castle. The bell tower of the Church of San Pietro e Paolo, containing prized 18th century canvases and numerous chapels, may also be easily seen. Returning along the foothill road, we lastly ascend to Ospedaletto dal Pinolo, whose history has always been entwined with that of Montevergine. Its name is derived from the small Ospedale di San Tommaso, where pilgrims took their rest before tackling the climb to the sanctuary. Even today, pilgrims making the age-old trek up to Montevergine stop among the ruins of the Scalzatoio, or shoe removal chapel, to remove their shoes and continue their pilgrimage barefoot. Standing out among the alleyways in the historical center is the recently restored Church of Santi Filippo e Giacomo. Along the left nave is the 17th century Santissimo Rosario chapel, adorned with numerous paintings, a wooden chorus, a polychrome marble altar, and a prized wooden statue of the Madonna. Continuing a few hundred meters further, we return to Sumonte, thus bringing to an end our long and evocative journey around Partenio's mountains. But if that is not enough for you, or if you're looking for a more thrilling experience, you can continue your journey right into the heart of Partenio, thanks to the numerous hiking trails throughout the area, with stops in mountain huts, visitors centers, and agritourism facilities, offering the age-old, highly refined flavors characteristic of this land. Starting from Sumonte's brand new nature center, Centro Ambientale Uropetra, a series of trails, many of which built by Club Alpino Italiano, lead the hiker to points of considerable natural and scenic interest, such as Belvedere di Castellone, Becca d'Aquila, and Forcetelle. The trail starts quite easily, paved with rough-hewn limestone. It has scenic rest areas for those wishing to enjoy nature in a state of complete calm and tranquility. More experienced hikers can continue to the Campo Maggiore and Campo San Giovanni highlands, 1,150 meters in elevation, and reach the peaks of Monte d'Avella, Montevergine, Coppola, and Valatrone to be enchanted by breathtaking landscapes. Along the way, hikers can stop at the Forcetelle and Campo San Giovanni huts, equipped with an open-air area offering specialities from the local cuisine. Wine and food are another strong appeal throughout the Partenio area, thanks to the numerous offerings from its pasture, woods and agriculture, which maintain the age-old link between the people and their land. The rich array of products include such specialities as hazelnut, highly prized are the Avellana and Riccia di Talanico varieties. Chestnut, Sumontes are famous. Cherrit and Nurka apple, particularly widespread in the Caudine Valley. Cheeses like Pecorino, Ricotta and Caciocavallo Silano DOP. Sliced meats such as Salami Napoli, one of Italy's oldest salamis, produced as always in the area of Mugnano del Cardinale. Colline Beneventane, extra virgin olive oil. Honey, blending the fragrances of chestnut woods and high meadow flowers. And lastly, porcini mushrooms and truffles, widespread throughout Partenio thanks to its pristine environment. Notable wines include the DOCG Fiano d'Avellino, one of Italy's few white wines worthy of aging. Local artisanal workshops turn out excellent liqueurs such as Nocino, Fragolino and chestnut liqueur, while the Loreto Abbey's distilleries produce such exclusive offerings as the renowned Anthemis, made by Benedictine monks using herbs grown only in Partenio. Typical dishes include a hearty soup called minestra amaritata, as well as an obligatory speciality, fresh homemade pasta in a variety of shapes, lagani, tagliolini, cavatelli, orecchietti and gnocchi, dressed with porcini mushrooms, truffles and sometimes grated walnut or hazelnut. Another unique treat throughout the area is homemade bread with wild fennel. But the true stars of Partenio's cuisine are the Castagna del Prete, roasted chestnuts, and Cupetto, an artisanal nugget produced locally in the area of Ospedaletto dal Pinolo. This area, where a permanent nugget exhibition is held, is also home to artisanal chocolate, biscuits, Easter eggs, nuts and preserves, mostacciole, rococo, frappe, sweetmeats, and processed chestnuts and hazelnuts. Local crafts include woodworking, wrought iron, and embroidery. But Parco del Partenio is so much more. Only after a long, exciting visit can we discover the mysterious charm of a truly unique land.